It's fair to say that the Marvel Universe has introduced countless weapons since its creation as timely comics in the late 1930s. But throughout its long and ongoing run, some weapons have risen above others. While the MCU has made it clear the Infinity Gauntlet was one of the most powerful Marvel weapons, it is in fact not the most powerful. In today's video, we'll be ranking 10 of the strongest Marvel Universe weapons. So get ready to explore the outskirts of the universe from Asgard to planet Earth and beyond our own plane of reality. Number 10. The Casket of Ancient Winters. At number 10 on today's list is the infamous Casket of Ancient Winters. The powerful artifact made its first appearance during one of Thor's many adventures on planet Earth. It was believed to have been lost for ages when it was in actuality protected by the Willis family for a long time. After its guardian Eric Willis died at the hands of the Dark Elf Malekith the Accursed, the burden protecting the weapon was automatically passed down to his son Roger Willis. Willis was left with some indications as to where to find the hidden object, which eventually led him under an abandoned section of a Manhattan highway. Surprisingly enough, the casket was left hanging under the highway, only protected by a black canvas and held together by electrical tape. A far cry from how Asgardians would have protected it and, in the gods' most theatrical ways, exhibit it. But why the big deal about such an old artifact shaped like a small treasure box? And you know what they say, never judge a book by its cover, and this is certainly an example. The Casket of Ancient Winters is in fact filled with Ymir Fimbulvinter, a high-level form of cryonesis. In other words, the one wielding the golden box can freeze anyone they wish or even start a blizzard with the strength of 1,000 Canadian winters. And that is cold, my friends. While the casket is an amazing tool holding great powers, it is a bit too destructive to be used by a superhero on a regular basis. That is why most of the time it's been stolen by notorious villains from across the galaxy, Malekith being one of them. After searching for Roger Willis, the Dark Elf eventually got his hands on him and at the same time the powerful relic. Willis's failure to protect the casket consequently caused a disastrous chain of events that affected not only Earth but later on Asgard itself. Malekith then decided to open the casket and unleash a powerful blizzard all over planet Earth. He also used the casket to free the fire giant Surtur, who eventually set his sight on Asgard after claiming Ymir's ice abilities for himself. With the power of the Casket of Ancient Winters to his wield, he imprisoned Odin, the king of Asgard, in an impressive block of ice. After these events, the weapon disappeared but re-emerged at the hand of the Dark Elf Jaegerfilm before being reclaimed once more by Malekith. He then proceeded to summon Pentagar from the Casket of Ancient Winters and freeze Asgard in its entirety, including its citizens. After quite the tumultuous battle, Thor and Lady Sif eventually used the Gem of Infinite Suns in order to close the casket and finally end the seemingly eternal winter. In the end, Thor fastened the gem to the indestructible Casket of Ancient Winters and sent both artifacts to another dimension, making it someone else's problem. While the gem helped our heroes finally resolve the issues, the casket is nevertheless one amazing weapon to have in one's arsenal. If the only thing that can actually stop it is a legendary gem that only a god can get his hands on, then it makes it not only a powerful tool but an almost unstoppable one. Number 9. The Staff of One. The next marvelous weapon on our list is none other than the extremely powerful Staff of One. The mystical object has quite the interesting origin and was forged during combat a long time ago. When the legendary warrior Tokiko Minoru defeated a warlord sorcerer simply referred to as the One, she gave him a choice when he asked him to choose between death or becoming her weapon. Interestingly enough, the powerful magician chose not to leave his mortal coil and accepted to serve Tokiko Minoru and her descendants as the Staff of One. However, because there's always a but with these kinds of men, he agreed only to the terms if he could have a day off from being a weapon every single time the Earth was in alignment with the Sun and Mars. But that part of the deal was not the only catch. In order to use the Staff of One, its wielder had to pay in blood sacrifice, which meant they have to use their own blood to cast spells, and the more blood that is used, the more powerful the spell can be. A good example of this is when Nico Minoru had a very dangerous encounter with Apex. Through the use of technopathy, Apex was able to control Chase's Dark Hawk armor to face off with Nico, but the fight ended very badly for the young girl. Through tremendous force, the armor ripped her arm apart and at the same time broke the Staff of One into 2 parts. As she was gasping for air, slowly leaving this plane of reality, Nico was able to cast one last spell. While this might have sounded like the end for Nico, remember that the staff uses blood as a sort of magical fuel, and the more blood, the more power. So just like the Phoenix, she rose from the ashes and stood tall with a brand new arm and a reconstructed Staff of One. For a while, her new arm acted as a replacement Staff of One, granting her the power to cast spells directly without the need for blood sacrifice. But as Mars, Earth, and the Sun aligned, the One woke from his slumber. But before turning back into a staff, the One renegotiated his contract. The terms were that Nico did not need to use blood magic anymore, but every time she would cast a spell, an amount of the One's essence would mix with Nico, allowing him to witness the world through her. The Staff of One has an almost unlimited and growing list of spells to choose from. It can summon acid rain, control wind, and even be used to teleport its wielder to various locations. At some point, Nico was even able to control She-Hulk, sending the indestructible green giant into a frenzy. Nico can grow wings, while also calling for the help of legendary creatures like that one time she summoned an ice wolf to fight fiery snakes. In short, the staff has almost endless possibilities ranging from offensive, defense, and even resurrection spells. And while it's one of the most powerful weapons in the Marvel Universe, it has its limits, since most of the time it requires one's blood to be used. But before we reveal our next diabolical weapon, be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, and Hulk smash that like button for more Plot Armor Comics content. Number 8. The Crimson Gem of Sidrak. The Crimson Gem of Sidrak was born out of a feud between a group of warriors who called themselves the Octessence. The group was not really a team per se, but was made out of 8 rivals: Kraken, Farala, Icon, Watum, Ragador, Valtor, Balthak, and finally Sidrak. The 8 members of this little group were what we call the Mystic Principalities, mysterious extra-dimensional beings holding godly powers. When the 8, seemingly bored out of their minds, argued about which among them was the most powerful, an idea sprouted in their minds. They would organize a sort of tournament they would call the Wager of Octocents, but they wouldn't fight in their actual forms, as they would recruit what they would call exemplars. These characters act as some sort of champions who are empowered by an artifact created by the principalities themselves. In the case of the Crimson Gem of Sidrak, a shiny red crystal, it was placed in a temple in Korea and was left there for a very long time, waiting for the right champion to find it. That is until the Ancient One ventured into the temple to look at the crystal without touching it. Why? Because the first person who touches the crystal would not only be imbued with its power, but would serve under Sidrak. After countless searches for the power of the gem, while some have been more careful around it, Kane, Marco, and Charles Xavier stumbled upon it in Korea. And while Xavier explicitly warned Marco about not touching the artifact, the man did the exact opposite, which granted him the power of Sidrak on the spot, transforming him into the powerful Juggernaut. His transformation caused him to destroy the temple, which also buried him within. After emerging from the ruins, he would become an unstoppable force. The gem itself is not a weapon, but rather transforms its wielder into the Juggernaut. The exemplar transcends humanity itself, as human needs are suddenly not necessary to sustain Sidrak's champion. Kane Marco only survived so long under the Templar's rubble because he did not need to sleep, drink, eat, or even breathe. On top of that, he is empowered by an amazingly high level of strength and stamina, with a body acting as a shield of its own. But like many superpowered individuals, his greatest weakness is his mind, and that is why, just like Magneto, the Juggernaut wears a special helmet shielding him from psychic attacks or manipulation. The power of the gem can also not completely be shared with others, making it quite limited in terms of whom it empowers. When Juggernaut sought to give more power to his friend Black Tom Cassidy, he went back to Korea to retrieve the gem. But when his friend touched it, half of Juggernaut's power was transferred to Black Tom. Juggernaut only reclaimed his full power when Rogue took Black Tom's powers from him. The gem was then thrown into space in hopes that no one else would have a chance to put their hands on it. After a stint with a boy named Stevie who could shoot blasts using the gem's power, the Crimson Crystal merged with Juggernaut, giving him the ability to summon powerful armor. To this day, Juggernaut remains imbued with Sidrak's otherworldly power and causes mayhem wherever he goes. While the Crimson Gem of Sidrak can grant amazing powers to its exemplar, it stays low on the list for its limited use and the burden of safeguarding the crystal, as anyone else who touches it would only make the original host weaker, diluting the strength of everyone involved. Number 7. Destroyer, the Enchanted Armor. The incredible weapon that is Destroyer, the Enchanted Armor, can almost be treated as a character in its own right. It was created eons ago when the Celestials were visiting Earth in order to judge if it was worth keeping in the universe. Afraid of losing his followers, the almighty Odin created this amazing armor in order to protect Earth against the cosmic giants. The enchanted armor is made from a very rare metal called Uru. The component originates from the very first moon to ever hang in the universe's sky. While this is armor, it is not meant to be worn by any warrior, since Asgardians are on average the same size as human beings, and this thing is huge. So instead of having someone inside of it, the armor was originally filled by Odin's energies, which gave him more than a few superpowers. The Destroyer has, amongst other things, superhuman strength, speed, and stamina. One of its most interesting features, called the Omni-Atomic Manipulation, allows it to shoot incredibly powerful bolts of energy at its enemies. And believe me when I say you don't want to get in its way. Its beam is so strong that it has the ability to even destroy planets. But while the armor was created by Odin, he was not its only user. One of its most infamous wielders is none other than the god of mischief himself, Loki. After finding the weapon in the Temple of Darkness, Loki launched an attack against his own brother Thor. But after realizing he couldn't quite control the Udamade monster, which was destroying everything in its path, he asked Karnilla for help. And in return, Karnilla called upon the armor's creator Odin, who was deep into Odin's sleep, to wake up and clean his adoptive son's mess. After this whole ordeal, the Destroyer was buried under the temple that ended up being collapsed by Odin. The Destroyer has participated in multiple battles throughout the Marvel timeline, using various life energies depending on who awakens its powers. But in one particular and rare event, someone actually wore it as a knight's type of armor. When the Celestials came back once more, Odin had no choice but to absorb almost every Asgardian's life energy into its own body, making him into a giant. One who could wear the enchanted armor. The battle raged, and the Eternals joined Odin's side to fight for humanity. But in the end, even the powerful armor which seemed indestructible melted down when faced with the Celestials' wrath. However, the weapon was not completely done for, as Loki succeeded in bringing it back to its glory once more before losing it in Hela's realm. While it's no secret that the armor is OP, it has some weaknesses. Besides the Celestial, another creature succeeded in damaging the armor, and with quite the ease. When Mangog, the last of his kind, attacked Asgardia, he was met with an army of Asgardians, the Destroyer included. But the vile-looking alien succeeded in decapitating the Destroyer's arm just by chewing through it. The arm was not completely lost, since it eventually served as Thor's replaced arm after he lost his own. But it shows that even a powerful metal such as Uru can meet its match somewhere in the galaxy. And as we've seen, the armor is not the most stable weapon, since it can go berserk at any moment. On top of that, it requires a huge amount of life energy from its wielder, which even the gods would have difficulty with. Number 6. Odin Sword. Keeping up with the Asgardian theme, next we have the very large Odin Sword, also known as the Oversword or eventually Ragnarok. This magnificent sword that was once wielded by Odin is said to have the power to end the universe itself. The Odin Sword is rumored to have originated from a golden Nibelung ring, and many have sought to have its power for their own. In a desperate attempt to protect Asgard, Odin used it to fight the Celestials, but with them being way too powerful, the sword barely made a dent in them. And as the fight against the cosmic giants continued, Thor threw it directly at Arishem the Judge. While that would have literally cut Asgard in half, the attack had no effect whatsoever on the Celestial. Instead, after carefully and curiously looking at the blade, Arishem melted the whole weapon down, rendering it utterly useless. But as you probably know by now, nothing stays destroyed or even dead for too long in the Marvel Universe. During the event dubbed the Serpent's War, the Odin Sword mysteriously re-emerged. When Odin's long-lost brother Cole Borson returned, a supervillain who also goes by the name The Serpent, things went from bad to worse very quickly. And as the Serpent's danger became more imminent, Odin gave Thor an amazing blade out of the blue. This is where he revealed to his son that the sword was in fact truly named Ragnarok, meaning the end of all things. Quite conveniently, Odin told Thor that Ragnarok was the only weapon that was capable of killing his brother Cole. So Thor, courageous as he is, accepted the weapon and prepared for the final battle against his uncle. When Thor went to confront Cole, who was after the Asgardian throne, things didn't go quite as planned. The powerful god of fear went full on, "Fool, this is not even my final form," and transformed into a creature simply referred as the Serpent. But the Serpent was not an ordinary snake. It was a fantastically large green dragon the size of numerous skyscrapers. While the battle raged between the two gods and Cole's power was at its peak, the god of thunder defeated the oversized lizard using Ragnarok. Thankfully, the dangerous sword did not cause Asgard to be completely obliterated, as Thor was worthy of wielding it, just as his father was many years ago. Now we'll turn to yet another weapon from the Thor franchise with a little side of venom, but not to worry, we'll get more diversity in a minute with some cosmic weapons involving the Fantastic Four and a snap that shook the core of reality. Number 5. All Black the Necrosword. All Black the Necrosword is not your average everyday weapon. In fact, it is an actual symbiote, which more often than not takes the form of a sword. According to Marvel lore, the All Black was the first ever symbiote to have existed in all of the universe. It was born from the evil Null, also known as the God of Darkness. Null created All Black partly from his own shadow and from the body of a dead celestial, which, as you can imagine, resulted in an amazingly powerful living blade. The weapon is, in some ways, linked to the celestial corpse, where it gains most of its cosmic powers when capturing the souls of its victims. But the blade is not completely tethered to Null, as it was also wielded by one of the most infamous villains in the universe, Gorr the God Butcher. Being a symbiote, All Black allowed him to gain the strength, the level of a dark god, such as Null, making him virtually unstoppable. The sword not only gives its host super strength, durability, speed, and so on, but it allows its wielder to live virtually forever. A seemingly unlimited life is not the only thing the Necrosword grants its wielder when bonded with. It also boosts the warrior's immune system, giving him superhuman regeneration abilities. When Gorr was hit by Thor's lightning, it took a little time for him to recover, and that was without any visible wounds. He was also able to reattach his arm when it was cut off by the God of Thunder. So All Black not only gives its host healing properties, but can also change its shape, transforming into various armors, wings, or even other weapons. While so far, I have mostly described the Necrosword as a close-ranged weapon, it has more tricks up its sleeve. Using what can be called constituent matter manipulation also allows its owners to summon creatures from the abyss called Black Berserkers. These sentient beings can be summoned endlessly and have served Gorr's many purposes. After realizing he could summon the Shadow Beast, the God Butcher created a whole army of them in his quest to capture all gods. But before doing so, he claimed an abandoned planet and created what can be referred to as a planet prison using All Black. In time, the All Black's host succeeded in capturing almost every god from their universe and sending them to his planet, the Black World of Gorr. The only god he really had trouble capturing was, of course, the Allfather Thor Odinson, who had succeeded his father as King of Asgard. Each respective god's powerful weapons were buried inside the planet itself and out of reach to anyone who would think to disobey Gorr. Turning these gods into slaves, he had a very specific goal for his complex operation: build the God Bomb. After 400 years of hard work from slaves, the device was finally complete. Using All Black, the weapon was conceived to shoot a powerful blast across the universe. One that would slowly drain every living god of their life energy, hence killing them and feeding the creepy sword at the same time, giving it even more power. However, Gorr's plan did not really work, as Thor, wielding not one but two Mjolnir, absorbed the blast, saving countless lives in the process. After a few deaths and rebirths, All Black the Necrosword finally met its end at the hand of another symbiote, Venom. Using the power of the God of Light, Venom succeeded in destroying the sword, Null's symbiote armor, and ended up throwing the supervillain into the sun, finishing him once and for all. Hey, when nothing else works, just throw them into a big ball of flames in space. Works like a charm. Number 4. The Cosmic Cube. The next weapon on today's top 10 belongs to a specific group of weapons instead of just a single one. The blue cube-shaped object contains so much power that it has the ability to alter reality itself if its user desires so. It acts as a sort of genie's lamp minus the limit of 3 wishes. Instead, it grants every wish one commands. When Thanos got his hands on one of these sweet cubes, he was able to literally become one with the universe and defeat the Eternal Kronos, a being of immense cosmic powers. That being said, the Cosmic Cube has been classified as an Omega-class weapon by the Initiative, a group that was formed after Iron Man Side 1 during a superhero civil war. If you're not familiar with the Omega-class weapons, think of Thor's Mjolnir as a good example. Since the Cosmic Cube can basically fulfill any wish, it can also create other weapons from its own energy. Worn by Curtis Doyle, aka Freedom Ring, the Cosmic Ring was a byproduct of the Cosmic Cube and allowed its wearer to alter and control reality in a 15-foot radius. Using the power of the ring, he could make things appear out of thin air. While the Comic Cube has a long history in the comics, it first appeared to be in the possession of AIM. Created by the institution, it was made of energy from the Beyonders, a group of aliens living outside the confines of the multiverse. But one of the main issues with the cube is that they are literally, in reality, embryos of sentient beings. They first developed a form of consciousness before growing into self-sufficient alien-like creatures, making it harder to control. The one created by AIM was eventually called Cubic. Leaving Earth for some space adventures, Cubic eventually meets the Beyonder and Molecule Man in a pocket universe. He reveals to them that they were not always separate beings, but actually pieces of a cosmic cube that were apart. When they merged together, a new cube was born, which eventually grew into a being named Cosmos. In sum, the cosmic cubes can be used in various ways. It always starts as a powerful weapon granting unimaginable powers to its wielder, but once it starts to think on its own, it gets a little tricky. And as it grows into a full humanoid form, then it's not really a weapon at all, but an actual sentient person. However, it doesn't stop a good manipulator from training a cosmic cube into becoming one of its allies or champions. And come to think of it, if half cosmic cubes can merge together and create a new one, could two fully formed cubes merge together? This could be one of the most evil ideas I've had today, but think about the amount of power a cosmic cube farmer could attain if mixing the right beans together. Food for thought. Number 3. The Ultimate Nullifier. Alright, now it's time to start our top 3 of the most powerful weapons in the whole Marvel Universe. At number 3, we have the distinctive looking Ultimate Nullifier. The device was first discovered by Fantastic Four's Human Torch and Ta-2, a world ship serving as home for Galactus. Interestingly enough, the small item was one of the rare things the Devourer of Worlds feared. A sort of boogeyman for one of the universe's most powerful threats. This was confirmed when Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic was fighting Galactus and threatened to activate the Nullifier. The space giant did not even try to touch planet Earth after seeing that Richards was wielding the weapon, and noped out of there in no time. But while the weapon has said to hold incredible powers, its activation and range of power really depends on the person using it. When Quasar tried to stop Magus, who had ramped up a collection of impressive weapons including a bunch of cosmic cubes and almost the entirety of the Infinity Stones, the Ultimate Nullifier was not really ultimate at all. It had absolutely no effect. Nothing happened. So in the wrong hands, it's as useful as some tableware. Heck, a spork would do more damage than that thing, but why was Galactus so scared of it then? For starters, legends, or call them rumors, can be quite effective when it comes to scaring people off. The Ultimate Nullifier has even been labeled as the universe's ultimate weapon by Super Soldier Captain America. Well, when it actually works, that is. It can literally obliterate anyone the wielder wishes to destroy, but there's a catch, because there's always one when it comes to OP weapons. If the wielder does not have a mind powerful enough, the Nullifier will destroy them in the process. It's a good tool if you're willing to sacrifice, for sure. Since Galactus was scared out of his mind of Mr. Fantastic when he held the Ultimate Nullifier, it's safe to say that the device can be activated from highly intelligent individuals. Imagine if Galactus would use it. It could easily destroy a whole universe or even shatter the world and open the way to the multiverse. As a matter of fact, this is exactly what Abraxas had in mind when he invaded Earth 616. That and completely destroying all known universes. And while the origin of the weapon is still quite vague to this day, it was revealed that it was somewhat a part of Galactus, or made from his flesh, which explains why it can cause so much damage. But most importantly, it's why he's so scared of it. The Ultimate Nullifier is the embodiment of the saying, "Fight fire with fire." So far though, the only time someone actually used the weapon was when Reed Richards destroyed the universe, only to reset it. Number 2. The Infinity Gauntlet. And today's runner-up is the Infinity Gauntlet. Wait, why isn't this number 1, you might ask? Well, you'll know in a bit. We don't want to spoil the fun now, do we? So when Mistress Death brought Thanos back to life, he also came back with a vengeance and more ambition than ever before. The Mad Titan woke up from his eternal slumber and decided it was time to get his hands on nothing less than the 6 Infinity Gems in order to bring balance back to the world. You see, without the gems, the Infinity Gauntlet is more or less just a really heavy glove, but once they're embedded with the stones, it acts as a weapon to wield their incredible powers. Let's go over each stone and see what powers they each own. The orange-colored Soul Gem is a sentient gem who acts as a sort of vampire feeding off of souls and collecting them. The souls of any person can be stolen and trapped within the confines of the rock. He took the first gem from the In-Betweener as they battled on a faraway planet. Inside of it exists a whole world called the Soul World, and the user of the Soul Gem can at will peek into the prisoner's memories or even use their skills and abilities while being trapped. But its power is only restricted to its inner world. The stone can give its owner the power to control all living beings, making any villain wielding it capable of quickly assembling huge armies. While the stone is in itself very powerful, it becomes easier to wield when it's used in conjunction with the Reality Stone. As the Elder named the Champion has shown when he destroyed his own planet, the Power Stone is capable of enhancing one's own strength in battle. The gem also has the power to boost someone's stamina, and most importantly, it gives more power to the other Infinity Stones when used together. For a while, the Time Stone belonged to a man simply called the Gardener, who used it without really realizing it. He basically used the gem to grow plants in his garden. But when Thanos came crashing into his garden, he tried to stop him by making vines grow bigger, attacking his enemy using them. But since Thanos already had the Power Stone in his possession, he was able to subdue and kill the Gardener by boosting the Time Stone's power, which made it impossible for the poor plant lover to control anymore. In sum, the Time Stone grants its wielder the power to control time and even peek into the future. In some ways, the shiny blue Space Stone offered itself to Thanos. When rumors spread about his mission to get all of the Infinity Stones, the Runner, another Elder, found the Mad Titan in order to try to stop him. But during the fight, Thanos got the opportunity to use the Time Stone, aging the Elder into an old man, and de-aging him again into a child afterwards, which left him completely vulnerable and floating into space. Thanos then acquired the Space Stone, thereby giving him the power to travel at the speed of light or teleport, and making his quest to collect the remaining stones that much easier. The Reality Stone was found by Thanos when it was part of the Collector's immense collection of eclectic artifacts and all sorts of living things. Not having any particular need for the gem, the Collector agreed to trade it for one of the Elders that Thanos turned into a baby using the Time Stone. But before leaving, Thanos demonstrated the reality-shaping abilities held within the powerful gem just to show off. He also explained to the Collector that the Elder would also revert back to his former age in a few minutes, leaving him quite some trouble. With the Reality Stone in hand, one can easily manipulate reality, transforming anything they wish with a simple use of their imagination. The last stone needed to complete the Infinity Gauntlet was held by an Elder called Grand Master. Now with 5 stones already collected, Thanos was a force to be reckoned with, so it didn't take him long to acquire the Mind Stone, which granted him Professor X-like powers like telepathy and telekinesis. Together, the 6 stones were placed into the Infinity Gauntlet, granting him the power to do virtually anything he wanted. And to impress Mistress Death, he snapped his fingers, and just like that, half of the universe's population disappeared. Now, if you think that weapon is powerful, wait until you hear what I'm about to tell you. Number 1. The Heart of the Universe. What can be more powerful than a weapon that lets you kill half of the entire universe's population in one single snap? The Heart of the Infinite. The most powerful weapon in all the universe first appeared to Pharaoh Akhenaten when he was abducted by the Celestial Order. According to the Pharaoh, these aliens had a mission to travel the cosmos in order to bring peace across the galaxy. They scouted the universe to find people like Akhenaten, bestowing great powers upon the selected few to help them in their insane universal crusade. To do so, they used the Heart of the Infinite, which brought the recruit to a sort of non-place where the secrets of the universe would reveal themselves to him. It took about 2,000 years for the whole process to be completed, and when it was over, Akhenaten came out of the whole ordeal completely changed. His body was now a form of void that could travel through space with ease and even held the power to destroy a soul itself. The power borrowed from the Heart of the Infinite is so powerful that it can kill a whole group of gods with a single hit. Whoever uses the stone can also time travel with ease. When Dr. Doom traveled back in time to shoot Akhenaten before his abduction, the Pharaoh's future version appeared to stop his own assassination. While Akhenaten was busy taking over Earth, Thanos, accompanied by the Defenders, decided to go on a space adventure to find and claim the Celestial Order's power source for himself. Once he found it, he renamed it the Heart of the Universe. The Mad Titan jumped into the source as its cosmic power started to inhabit him. It slowly started to disintegrate him, but Thanos, being one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, survived. However, a blast of energy destroyed the Celestial Order's ship and everyone in it, including the Defenders. Getting used to his new powers, Thanos floated in space, getting ready for more evil than ever. Just like the Pharaoh did before him, Thanos went back in time and challenged him. He decided to rewrite history and kill Akhenaten and get rid of the founders of the Celestial Order before they discover the heart of the universe. Thanos, now in God mode, made sure no one could ever put their hands on that kind of power again, making him an even bigger threat to the universe than he was before. Heck, this even made him the universe to some extent. In a mad monologue, Thanos explains how the heart of the universe is superior to the cosmic cubes and the Infinity Gauntlet in every way since it lives inside of him, compared to the other weapons which were extensions or external tools. He goes on to explain how he can feel and embody everyone and everything across the universe. When the whole universe of superheroes charged at him for gaining too much power, he fought back and showed the world that with one simple beam he could destroy a Celestial. Thanos' anger rose as he literally absorbed every single one of the warriors into his own being, even the Living Tribunal along with Infinity and Eternity. The heart of the universe made Thanos so strong that he engulfed the whole universe until there was nothing left but himself. But after a long discussion with Adam Warlock, who was in a reality outside of this one, Thanos decided to recreate the world as it was. Unfortunately for him, this was the extent of what he could endure, as to return things to normal, he would need to be the sacrifice. Even if the heart of the universe ended up causing Thanos' second death, the almighty energy source remains the most powerful weapon in the Marvel Universe. If wielded wisely, that is. If wielded by a group of heroes like the Avengers or the Defenders, the heart of the universe could serve to bring good to the world. It could even end poverty, cure all diseases, and improve everyone's quality of life. However, this amount of manipulation could be seen as an act of evil by others, meaning that the weapon forever lies in a sort of gray zone, always on the edge of good and evil. Well, that wraps up our top 10 strongest weapons in the Marvel Universe. What did you think of our list? Feel free to leave a comment down below of your favorites. Thank you for watching, I'm Morse Code, and see you soon for more Marvel content.